Let's get into the first story of the evening. It's a story we've all heard. We're kind of tired of hearing, but there's different angles coming out. And of course, we're talking about the transgender shooter that shot up the Catholic Church in Minneapolis. Now, obviously, this story is incredibly sad. I'm not patting myself on the back when I say this, but I did speak at a recent state Senate hearing in Texas, and I got absolutely buried by the trans community because I made a joke about transgenders being good for the military because they like to do mass shootings, and if their rate of suicide is so high, we could use them like the Taliban uses suicide bombers. And I got absolutely buried. But less than 2 weeks from that speech,
they hated him because he spoke the truth.
I spoke the truth, and I didn't like this. I don't like that I'm clairvoyant and these things are happening. So I guess my first person I want to direct it to is Jamie. You speak at these Senate hearings. You go around to Missouri and all these other states and speak at them. Why don't they understand that this problem is really prevalent and that these people are suicidal and that serious stuff's happening?
Oh, wow. You want the history and how we got here?
How prevalent is it? Because I said this at a state Senate hearing and it happened. And even before that, it was 2 days after the hearing. It was a story in the UK where a train conductor was misgendered and they threw themselves in front of a train. So I was right after I said it. And then I was sadly extra right about the suicide and the trans.
I think we've seen upwards of a 5,000% increase in individuals identifying as trans. In the young people population, it's close to 3% by some estimates. So yes, of course, we're going to see huge numbers of issues in the public when you have that large of a percentage of our population identifying into something that is rooted in a lot of mental illness.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we have a serious mental illness problem, but I think you saw Charlie Kirk. Everybody talks about it's not rude for us to figure out if this shooter was on SSRI. So where does the over medication come into this, Karys? I think you were talking about that earlier, right?
Yeah, it could come into play, especially because the fact that a lot of these young kids are being medicated with drugs that have never been tested in cross-examination with each other. Like when you're on a cocktail of more than 2 drugs, there's just absolutely no way to know what kind of side effects those are going to produce, right? They haven't done any of those clinical trials. So yeah, I think that's really dangerous when you have a whole generation that has grown up economically shortchanged, obsessed with screens, getting all of their romantic quote unquote needs or sexual needs met through porn or Snapchat or social media. And then so obviously they're all going to be anxious and depressed because they're not really functioning in real life and going outside and having human to human interaction. And so then they're going to all be put on all this medication, and that is just going to inevitably make things worse for them because you get into this like prescription cascade, they call it.
Well, I just want to say this quick statement. Howard Stern famously got canceled for saying during the Columbine shootings that if these kids would have just gotten laid, they might not have done this. But you kind of made that same argument right there, did you not? By looking at the pornography and stuff, the fact that these kids are online looking at all this demonic stuff, maybe if they went out and actually got laid, they wouldn't be school shooters.
Well, I mean, let's take it what we want.
Wait, isn't that what you joked to? Isn't that what you said?
We want these kids to have real life experience.
Yeah.
And so there was something about I don't know what your generation is, but going to the mall, sneaking the cigarette, hanging out with your friends, doing things in real life, having those risk behaviors in real life and learning the consequences with your social peers and your group is actually how you become an adult. You're not going to learn how to become an adult by sitting behind a screen. The only way you are is by having your peers say, dude, you just did something that was ridiculous. I'm not hanging out with you right now. Like you learn how to adult through social pressure. And the real way to do that is in real life.
Right.
It's not just getting
I just have to say, I don't think my message to would-be mass shooters is go out and get laid. I think that
but isn't that
might be like my fourth message to them.
Well, the first
after,
you're not saying it, right? You're not saying it, but you're not saying it.
Not saying it, just like...
I'm not saying it, but I'm not saying it.
But you went to the porn thing, so I'm saying, like, maybe if these guys went out there and they didn't have access to all this porn and they had to actually get it from a chick, maybe they'd be a little more suave, a little more self-aware, and less likely to do something like this. I'm not saying you said that, but you kind of insinuated that. But, Phil, am I crazy for
Fair enough.
Not for that.
Okay. I'm crazy for other stuff.
Yes.
But
I think there's other stuff going on when we look at, this is something I've been thinking about, right? Because we hear an awful lot about how we need more mental health care for people. And I have a lot of questions about what exactly mental health care is and what it does and what use it really is. I don't know about you guys. I've been to a therapist a couple of times in my life, like different times that I've had questions and I'm like, I'm not going to bore my friends about this for a year and a half. I'm going to go talk to somebody and figure it out. And then you solve your problem and you move on, right? But you have people who are in therapy for years and years and years, and then they have a psychologist who they talk to, and they have a psychiatrist who prescribes them, but they don't talk to. Or you have a clinic and then you see somebody else every other week or something like that. And it's sort of confusing and difficult. A lot of the mental health is like either outpatient or inpatient drug treatment, right? So you have a lot of this stuff going on. And I had an interesting conversation, just bear with me for a second, at Turning Point a couple of years ago. I was doing a panel, and this woman asked a question that I found absolutely fascinating, because we were talking about God and religion and what place faith has in your life. And she said, how do you find faith if you don't know what it is and no one's ever told you about it? She said, my generation, which is, substantially younger than me, like Gen Z or whatever, she said, my generation, when we have problems, we're told that it's a mental health thing and to go talk to a therapist. And then we're given drugs about it. And so much of the attention of mental health turns you and your problems in on yourself. And you're not looking outside, like you were saying, Jamie. You're not looking to friends. You're not looking to other experiences, even to sex, as, Karys and Alex were discussing. You're not looking to other things. You're just turning everything in on yourself. Mm-hmm. And in on yourself is sort of a wasteland, right? Like we are not God.
It's because the mental health model has transformed into an industry,
right?
Basically. And so
they don't want to cure you.
Exactly. It's business. The more you'll sit there and talk about your problems, right? And it's kind of become, in some ways, a very narcissistic oriented pursuit, right? Instead of teaching people to maybe be more focused on service, right? Or helping others, or it's all about me, and trying to figure out, why I'm anxious and what happened in my childhood and who can I blame and things like that. I mean, Abigail Schreier wrote a whole book about
fascinating
this,
book,
therapy. And there's amazing people like Lauren Delano and Cooper Davis and stuff that are trying to create different models for mental health, things like peer-to-peer mental health. Because I think, as you guys were saying, it was, back in the day, people actually relied on their family or their pastors or their community.
And there were certainly crazy people back in the old days. There was Lizzie Borden,
There's crazy people, but
I was here for Halloween one year.
But there's a point I want to make when it comes to mental health. And I mean, maybe Phil won't agree with me, but we actually do have a cure to mental health. It's called diet and exercise. And literally people that actually do diet and exercise, their mental health improves dramatically. So there are cures other than just taking a pill, SSRIs. And that's one application that no doctor has ever prescribed. I mean, maybe some homeopathic doctors, but that's the problem, is that people are over medicated. And of course people do have depression, but you can literally fix that with regular exercise and eating a diet.
Yeah, to your point, I wouldn't,
but not
I wouldn't
in
say
excess,
that,
because even those things you can end up getting.
You can get psycho.
You should add one more. It's diet, exercise, and sleep.
Yeah, and sleep. Of
there
course.
actually is
sleep is just as important as exercise.
There is an adolescent
if
study that showed if you could get these kids to actually get enough sleep, their depression and anxiety actually did.
Okay,
lift.
but if you diet, you exercise, and you're getting sleep, and then you spend all the rest of your time on Snapchat and Tumblr and TikTok, I don't know if that will really.
Hold on. This is the whole topic is a little bit more nuanced than just as simple as exercise.
Yeah, I think it's a whole confluence of
I'm a big proponent of going to the gym and exercising.
You can tell.
It's important. Thank you very much. I mean, it's important
for your mental health. It's just as important for your mental health.
But there are genuinely very ill people that medication does help. If you're schizophrenic, going to the gym isn't going to help. You need to actually talk to a doctor. And I'm only saying this because there is a certain there's almost a idea that people have that if you're depressed or if you feel some kind of mental illness, pressure or whatever, just go to the gym. That will not solve it. But if all you're feeling like is, I'm tired and I'm kind of bummed out, going to the gym and getting a good night's sleep a couple nights in a row will probably solve your problem.
It's almost
it's
super
like chronic
annoying
versus episodic or something.
It's super annoying how helpful it is to work out.
Like
I hate it so much.
Mad that they worked out.
No, but I hate exercise. I hate working out, and I do it every day, and I hate it. And then afterwards, I'm like, God damn it, I feel better. I feel better.
But these kids, especially these kids who have this trans identification, though, they're beyond some of this because they have literally beat into their brain that they ruminate on their own distress. They become stuck in this cycle of it's just rumination, rumination, rumination. And for some of them, I think we have completely created a culture of mental health, though, too, where you go to school, even in kindergarten now, and the first thing you're being always asked is to check in on your emotions and, where are you at and what are you feeling today? And it's not that service. It's not like, what have you done today? Like, how can you help someone else? It's just ruminating on your own psyche.
Yeah, there's not enough
the way to do it.
There's not enough inside of us to sustain life.
But with the trans thing, what is
you need other people, you need other activities, you need community.
With trans people, though, what is the illness? It's gender dysphoria.
No.
Oh, you don't think so?
What do you think?
What is it?
Do you think it's real? Do you think trans is real?
No.
I think it's a manifestation of other things. It used to be where
it's a culture-bound.
You don't think it's a mental illness?
Well, it used to be where, like, if someone had some kind of body image, body dysmorphia, whatever, they would be anorexic or bulimic and stuff. I think that modern transgenderism in women tends to be a manifestation.
But you know about bigorexia, where people want to be super big?
Sure.
You've seen that? So people have body dysmorphia of every kind. They want to be big. They want to be small. They want to be a boy. They want to be a girl.
The number of people that are bulimic and anorexic today is significantly smaller than it was 30 years ago. And I think
is that true? Is that true?
Yeah, I think that a lot of it is because the manifestation of body dysmorphia nowadays is not about whether they are large enough or small enough or skinny enough or whatever. It's they feel like they're in the wrong body.
Well, also people are like the whole idea of being overweight is not stigmatized
exactly
anymore.
And also when it comes to men, I think that when it comes to men that are that say they're transgender and want to be women, I think a lot of that is on autogynephilia personally. But
I think there's a lot of that as well.
So wait, I was
definitely a kink thing.
What were you going to say about that, Jamie?
I don't know that there is anything that's truly trans. Yes, there is gender dysphoria still in the DSM-5. There is a checklist that has like 9 criteria. And if you meet 6 out of those 9 criteria, you can fall into this category of having gender dysphoria. Most of the doctors in this country do not care if you even meet that criteria. This has truly become an identification. If you say you're trans, you can be transitioned at basically any age.
That's ridiculous that these doctors will just do it. And then they tell the parent that the kid is going to harm himself if they don't do it. So you think it's, if the kid doesn't affirm their new gender, that they're going to, take their own life, which is ridiculous. But how much blame do you think that the doctors have versus the parents? Because I think it's the parents that are probably causing a lot of these kids to be so confused. I think they take a lot of responsibility for even letting their kid like this trans shooter.
So the younger the kid is, the more I would say it's a parental issue. So if you have a 3-year-old that's claiming that they are trans, that is a parent issue.
Or not even just non-binary or something.
Yes,
like that.
but often, you have these 2 different categories of parent, though. There are some parents who see their gender nonconforming kid. The kids that truly are just gender nonconforming, most of them will grow up to be gay. The parents who freak out about that, there's those parents, and then there's the parents who want a trans kid.
Yeah.
It gives
like
them
Megan
social
Fox
cred.
That has 4 trans kids.
Like a Charlize Theron.
Or Charlize
Yes.
Theron. Excuse me. I think Megan Fox has 1, sorry.
I might be wrong. I actually think Megan Fox is letting her kid just be gender nonconforming.
That's still weird.
It's weird that any kid would be thinking about.
I'm saying I can see like that's nicer, but it's like you're a boy or you're a girl. You have a vagina or a
You're
penis.
a boy or you're a girl. But for people that grow up to be gay adults, many of us just are very masculine little girls or very feminine little boys. Yeah. Tomboys or sissies.
Yeah, but being gay and being transgender are 2 different things. I know there's overlap a lot, but they are different.
No. I mean, yes and no. So if
Jamie's saying that the whole trans social contagion is actually like erasing gayness, because a lot of these people, because of the social pressures, are immediately labeled trans because they're non-conforming in some way, when in reality they're just gay. But because people are telling them they're trans, they're like, oh, I must be trans.
But if you're saying that you don't know your gender and you're non-conforming or whatever, you're trans. I mean, that is. I'm sorry. Like that is true. By not picking a gender, it's just the same as saying you're the opposite gender.
So
But
take
why?
the word
When you're
gender
young,
out.
you don't know.
Yes, you do. You know your gender. You have a penis or a vagina. Wait. You're not going to
That's just-
gaslight me. You know your
That's
gender.
true, but that's
But
the
you know
thing.
but you don't
Unless you're born
necessarily-
intersex with
No, I'm not
genital-
saying you don't know your gender, but you don't necessarily know when you're that young if you're gay or not, right? Like you're kind of confused.
Yeah, but who cares if you're gay? There's
Because
lesbians and there's gay. I mean,
because
that doesn't make you the opposite sex if you're a homo.
No, but for a lot of gay adults,
Yes.
remember that when we were kids, we knew we were different. We knew we didn't fit in. And the way that we knew we didn't fit in is what we refer to as gender. I thought I was supposed to be a boy.
Okay.
I'm just a lesbian.
Yes.
I thought I was supposed to have a penis for a lot of years when I was little. I didn't understand why I wasn't a boy. I just knew that I understood that I had this difference that was keeping me separate from my peers.
Okay.
And what we now see in retrospect is homosexuality got taken out of the DSM.
Did it? It's out?
Oh yeah, homosexuality has been
a while
out
ago.
since 79, I
That's
think.
not
What do they
considered-
call it? Oh, it's just not a disorder.
It's not a
mental
disorder.
disorder.
It's not a mental
Okay.
disorder.
They
to be
took
gay.
gender.
I would argue that
But
it
they took
is because
gender
a lot of
identity
people that are
disorder
gay
out, too.
have had sexual trauma as a young person. I think it's like 70%. Did you ever have anything traumatic in your childhood?
Besides like
Like-
being a crazy tomboy and getting hurt.
Yeah,
with,
like you
random-
didn't have sexual.
70%. Is that true?
Look it up, Serge. Look it up how many people that are gay identified as being sexually abused. It's something really high, and I do think causation doesn't mean causation, or whatever the saying is. Like if there's a bunch of people that got sexually abused, and then later in life they say that they're gay, and there's a pattern. Like I think that there could be. It's like nature versus nurture. If you got abused, I think you're more likely going to be sexually confused than somebody that didn't get abused.
Okay, so let me say this. I think we would all agree that no child should experience sexual abuse. So if we work as a society to reduce that occurrence and we see a reduction in the number of adults who identify or say that they are gays and lesbians later, your hypothesis.
Wait, real quick,
might
look
be
at this.
true.
Look at this. Look at this. A new study led by researchers at Vanderbilt, one of the best universities in the country, found that 83% of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and queer individuals reported going through adverse childhood experiences such as sexual or emotional abuse.
Well,
83%.
Emotional abuse is very different than sexual.
But that's still a form. You can still like emotionally.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
there's a lot of overlap. With
So can
sexual
we
and emotional
pivot for a
abuse.
minute though?
Yeah.
Okay. So does my homosexuality lead to me needing to have my body parts cut off, being put on a hormonal treatment?
It shouldn't.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if we have to think about as a society, we can accept that there are some people who are gay, lesbians, homosexuals, who need no medication for that, don't really bother you in any way. And I also,
What kind of medication? Viagra? What kind of medication do you need to be gay?
you shouldn't need anything.
Okay.
But my homosexuality doesn't ask anything of you. Does it ask
That's the
anything
difference.
of you?
That's the difference
with
with
trans. If trans asks of you to do something, it asks of you to change.
Well, I would argue that you being a lesbian asked something of me because, like, if I hit on you, it would be misconstrued as if you were straight. So it kind of is. I'm just saying, a lesbian, you do kind of have to change a little bit than if you're heterosexual.
Why would I care if you hit on me?
Well, it's just, I don't know. It's just, I'm just saying there are instances where you'd maybe treat a gay person different than a straight woman. I think that.
You would hit on a lesbian in a
No, but
different
I'm saying,
way
like,
than
if
a straight woman?
No, I'm saying, well, in a way, yeah, because it's harder to turn. I've turned a lot. But my point is, being gay and being trans kind of does ask something of me.
But I think
it's
what
like
she's
if I go
saying-
to a gay wedding, how am I supposed to not laugh at two girls? And
Okay, but I think
well, then we just won't invite you to the weddings, and you can stay home, and you
but
don't have to bake us a
Jamie
cake.
is saying that when you're trans, you're requiring somebody to recognize
Affirm
you
your
as
gender.
something different than you are, versus if you're a lesbian or you're gay, nobody would even necessarily know that because it's
Yeah,
not.
I
It's a
agree.
sexual preference.
Yeah.
It's not an identity, right?
Well, that's why I don't understand the pride flag being in elementary schools, because all sexuality is, when you look at the pride flag, is just celebrating who you have sex with. So
We're gonna agree on so many of those things. There's absolutely no reason why a pride flag needs to be in an element
Yeah.
or even in a high school.
yeah, I mean, any
There's no
school,
need.
any school. I mean, even
There's
college,
no
probably
need for
not.
anything like
Yeah.
that. When I think about what do I need from my kids' school as a lesbian with children, the only thing I need is that when we have a parent-teacher meeting,
Mm-hmm.
my partner gets to come.
That doesn't seem like too much to ask.
Yeah, that would be insane. Could you?
I don't need you to teach the whole classroom about gay penguins.
Well, even
having
Snoop
baby
Dogg got
eggs.
mad at in the latest Pixar movie that the two couples that had a baby were two women. I don't know if you saw that story, but it was.
I did.
Yeah, that was interesting.
But the issue right now with
He's also married to his childhood sweetheart, which I think is.
Yeah, but
What was this? What's the story?
Snoop Dogg.
Snoop is married to his childhood sweetheart.
took his,
They've
like,
been married
nephew-
this whole time.
Yeah, he took his nephew to a movie, and in the movie, two women have a baby in the most recent Pixar movie, which is a kids movie.
And the nephew was like, "How they have a baby?"
And even Snoop Dogg was like,
Uncle
"Man, this
Snoop."
doesn't make any sense, man. Y'all are gay as hell." And yeah, so if Snoop Dogg's noticing, then, it says a lot.
I get it. But what I just want to bring it back to is really for so many of us who are adult gays and lesbians, we see trans as homophobic.
That's because it is.
Yes.
Yeah, because a lot of the trans too are these Caitlyn Jenner trans where they still like women. So what are you, Caitlyn Jenner? And I know Caitlyn.
You nailed what Caitlyn.
Caitlyn Jenner is autogynephilia.
Yeah, autogynephilia.
It's
That's exactly what it is.
It's
Yeah.
homophobic.
Do you know that it was? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it's not only homophobic, but it's actually guilty of the exact thing that it claims to be against, which is gender stereotypes and traditional male-female roles.
Is this still too woke?
No, you can do that.
It's completely guilty of that because it relies on those gender stereotypes in order to be trans. Like, if you end up being a tomboy, if you're a girl and you play with trucks, somebody's like, "Oh, you're trans," right? But that's just a stereotype of boys because they play with trucks. Like it's completely binary and it's just hypocritical.
Do you know that it was Kim Kardashian who discovered Bruce Jenner cross-dressing?
Yeah, and
had to tell her mom.
The bedroom, yeah.
Yeah, and said that she would have rather he was like screwing somebody else than that he was like wearing her mother's clothes.
Aww.
Well, no shite.
Yeah, she was super freaked out by it. She was like, "Oh, now I have to tell my mom this." But could you imagine if she came out talking about that within the past few years? She would have been shamed into non-existence for being like, "I didn't immediately affirm my stepfather wearing my mother's panties," Yeah.
Well, it is weird that the Caitlyn Jenner still likes girls. It's like, why not just stay a guy and bang girls? But
Girls would probably like that better.
The girls would like it better. He would like it better. I mean, but he's on all those hormones wrecking into people and causing fatal accidents. Phil, anything you want to say before we change the topic? I know it's a very lighthearted topic.
No, let's change the topic soon.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, what do we got next? What's going on? Amazon is in hot water for selling trans extremist shirts calling for violence.
Oh, it's the same topic.
To protect.
There's a lot of the same topics.
We'll just run through this. But look at this. It's funny though. They wear this T-shirt, and the predictive programming of me, but look at this predictive programming. They kind of put this into the ecosystem, into our zeitgeist, into our collective conscious. And now
when I first saw that T-shirt on social media, I actually thought it was a parody. Like I thought it was a conservative that was making fun
like a
of
shirt
trans
I would
people.
sell.
Yeah, exactly. I can't believe that is actually.
It's worth noting that that's the lieutenant governor.
That's the lieutenant governor of Minnesota.
The lieutenant governor of Minnesota is wearing a shirt that is glorifying violence. Can you bring it back up for 1 second? Just because I want to make sure that I'm saying protect trans kids, which I refuse to even accept the argument that there are trans kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is the flower? What is that? Was that just to balance out the knife, or does that have some sort of
like the
symbol?
olive
I think
branch
they
or
had an
something.
AR-15, and then they're like, we should put a flower there.
But the fact
It was
that
just like random, right?
the lieutenant governor is glorifying violence in favor of mutilating children,
Right.
like destroying children's lives. This is the society that we live in has been so absolutely decimated by the LGBTQIA groups. It is absolutely awful what has been done to the United States because
Don't forget the Two-Spirit.
Oh yeah, I mean the whole nine. I personally reject the concept of gender. You are either male or female. There is no gender. Gender is a made-up thing. That is, and at the end of the day, what it boils down to, the only way that people can explain it is your sexual spirit, and it's something that you should be teaching to kids.
Well, that's
you
because
shouldn't. Go ahead.
they killed God. They said we have no soul, and then they replaced it with gender. And gender is all about worshiping yourself and turning yourself into God. and saying that, there's nothing bigger than you, that everything in the world revolves around you. And that's why we have these trans violence t-shirts, right? Because what we have is a situation where people feel that if you don't acknowledge their fantasy, they get to hurt you. And we've seen this. This is not new. This has been going back for a while. There was an exhibit in 2018 at the San Francisco Public Library that had a whole exhibit about punch a TERF. And the TERF was a common term, right? TERF was a term that was used to denigrate liberal women.
Trans-exclusionary radical feminists.
Right, to denigrate liberal women who did not think men can become women. And they had this whole exhibit, punch a TERF. And then they said, TERFs are Nazis. And then they said, you can punch Nazis. That means you can punch TERFs. And that means you can punch anybody who doesn't agree with your fantasy of what's going on in the world and with yourself. And so that's how we got here. You get to hurt people, apparently, who disagree with your fantasy. And we also saw in 2023, as several states were bringing into effect, laws saying you can't sex change your children. And this was considered violence by the trans community. So you had a whole advocacy situation of trans people and like LGBTQIA plus, et cetera, groups getting together to learn how to use firearms to defend themselves against states that don't want to trans kids. And this appeared on covers of magazines like the Eugene Weekly in Oregon. And it appeared on T-shirts, and people were masking up, wearing the T-shirts, going out to protest and hurting women, like attacking women. Look what happened to Kelly J. Keane in, was it Australia or New Zealand? She was out there.
They threw ketchup on her.
And they attacked her. I was out at a protest.
It was ketchup, though. They attacked her a couple times, but didn't they throw a bunch of ketchup on her?
They threw a bunch of stuff on her.
And that girl got charged, I think, and actually got in much trouble for the ketchup incident.
And then there were, I remember going out and protesting in New York and people coming up to me and screaming Nazi in my face just because I know the difference between male and female.
Well, to your point, though, I think there is like a more sinister thing, like you talked about hiding the existence of God, and that a lot of this trans stuff is actually, I'm a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist.
I love that about you.
But it's a lot of it comes to with population reduction. Like they want us making less kids. Like they want, and as soon as they give a child, hormones, it's going to stunt their, puberty. It's going to stunt their reproductive organs, and it's just going to make it where people have atrophied penis. I know a guy that has one, a detransitioner. So there's a little more sinister stuff at play. They want to hide the existence of God, and they want to make us eunuchs so we can't procreate. But with all that being said, we'll get back. Oh, you say your point, please, Jamie.
One more thing about the Amazon shirts, though.
Yes.
Like you're saying, this is in the cultural zeitgeist. But one of the problems is we cannot get in there to start messing with the messaging.
Why not? Why can't we sell shirts?
I have an org, LGB Courage Coalition. We have tried to find dropship companies to produce our shirts. We wanted to make shirts, stop transing gay kids. Could not find a dropship company to produce it.
Really?
Nobody will pick up the other side messaging. Nobody will, even if we just put LGB, we can't get dropship companies to print. Gays Against Groomers have had the same thing. They've been kicked off of tons.
It's that hard to find an American-made distributor. I believe it.
So we finally found one.
I think we live in a capitalist country. You would think there's somebody who would sell it.
We finally found one. They are the ones that also print things for the polygamists, Mormons, and that's the company.
Hey, listen.
That's the company that I think is going to let us make some shirts.
You got 5 wives, you need a lot of shirts. You know what I mean?
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.